Welcome. Welcome to a new year at First Parish Bedford, a Unitarian Universalist congregation where we come together every week as a people with diverse beliefs and a shared commitment to bring more peace, more love, more justice, and more joy into the world. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whether you worship one God, many gods, or no gods, you're welcome here. I want to say a special welcome to all of our visitors this morning in person and on Zoom. You are welcome. We're glad you're with us today. Here in the sanctuary, you are invited to fill out a blue connection card, which you'll find at the end of the pews. You can give that to one of the ushers during the collection, and we'll add you to our mailing list. In Zoom, we'll put up a link in the chat to a form you can also fill out as your virtual blue connection card. Parents and caregivers of little ones, there's a nursery available downstairs for your convenience, but we're always delighted to have little ones here in our sanctuary as well. After the service, everyone's welcome to join us for coffee, tea, and fellowship in the common room. One announcement today. We'll have a second workshop by our capital campaign consultants, Greener You, on Monday, tomorrow, January 12th, from 6:30 to 8 o'clock at night. This meeting will be on Zoom. You can learn the results of the survey and more options for upgrading our building. The congregational vote on the capital campaign will be February 8th. Also, there will be a capital campaign table in the social hall during coffee hour after every Sunday until February 8th, and we hope you'll stop by to say hello. Every Sunday, we light our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Our chalice lighting words today are by Marjorie Montgomery. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
Welcome again, friends. My name is Jamie Hinson-Rieger. I'm the senior minister here at First Parish. It is good to be with you this morning. And friends, it has been a week in the world. So I invite you, before we do anything else this morning, just take a breath with me. Just breathe in, breathe out, and another. Breathe in, breathe out. Let's give ourselves permission to set down anything we might need to set down for just this moment and allow ourselves to be fully present to one another, to this time and to this place and to the possibilities of peace and healing and hope. We need these things, and this is a place where we nurture these possibilities for the world and for each other. Our opening words this morning are by the Reverend Bill Schultz, one of our distinguished former ministers. Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. Our opening hymn today is number 1 in your gray or cloth-bound hymnal, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. Please rise in body or spirit. Won't you please remain standing and join in sharing our unison affirmation that we say every Sunday. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar verdad en espíritu de amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. Please be seated. Our Director of Faith Development for Children, Nate Sellers, is not able to be with us this morning, so I am a special emergency auxiliary Nate this morning, and happy to share with you our time for all ages. So families on Zoom, this is a wonderful time to gather together a little more closely around the cozy blue glow of your device. Our story this morning is called Harold and the Bubble. Harold was a boy who loved to blow bubbles. Whenever he had a moment, he would take out his bubble wand and blow a long stream of bubbles into the breeze. He especially liked to blow big bubbles. And one day, Harold blew a bubble that was so big and so thick it surrounded his whole body. And from inside the bubble, because it was so very thick, what Harold could mostly see was his own reflection. And what he could mostly hear was the echo of his own voice. "Well, this is curious," said Harold. The echo said back in his own voice, "Well, this is curious." That made Harold laugh, and his echo laughed with him, and then the bubble popped. "Cool," said Harold. So Harold practiced until he got good at blowing his big and thick bubbles, and eventually Harold could blow a bubble around himself whenever he wanted. It all started out innocently enough. One day, while Harold was reading in his bedroom, it began to storm outside, and the sound of the thunder and the flashes of lightning through the bedroom window scared Harold. So he took out his trusty bubble wand and he blew a big, thick bubble all around himself, and from inside the bubble, he could barely see the lightning or hear the thunder. What he mostly saw was his own reflection, and what he mostly heard was his own voice. And he said, "This storm is not scary at all." And his reflection echoed back, "This storm is not scary at all." And hearing that made Harold feel better. The next day for dinner, they had chicken and peas. Harold did not like peas. He wanted carrots. But his dad said, "Harold, eat your peas." That made Harold mad. So he blew up a bubble big enough for himself and his dog, Rough Waldo Emerson. From inside the bubble, Harold said, "Harold, you should feed those peas to Rough Waldo." And the echo said, "Harold, you should feed those peas to Rough Waldo." "What a great idea," said Harold, and the echo agreed, so that is just what Harold did. And the dog was happy. The next day at the playground, Harold was having an argument with Iris. Harold said a whale was the biggest fish in the ocean, but Iris said a whale was not a fish at all. That made Harold mad because he knew that he was right. Iris was saying something about mammals when Harold blew a big bubble around himself. And from inside the bubble, Harold said, "A whale is a great big fish." And his echo said back to him, "A whale is a great big fish." "Thank you," said Harold. "I agree." When the bubble popped, Iris had given up and gone off to play on the swings. "I knew I was right," Harold muttered under his breath. Harold got more and more in the habit of blowing bubbles around himself whenever someone made him mad or said something he did not agree with. The bubbles he blew got thicker and thicker, and they lasted longer and longer. And then one day, someone on the playground said Pluto was not really a planet. And Harold got so mad, he blew the biggest, thickest bubble he had ever blown all around himself. Harold said, "Pluto is too a planet." And the echo said, "Pluto is too a planet." And Harold felt better. He whistled a happy tune inside the bubble, waiting for it to pop, but the bubble did not pop. It was so thick and so strong that it just stayed there with Harold inside of it. Harold pushed on the bubble. It stretched with his hand, but it did not break. He took out his pencil even and poked at it. The bubble stretched out even more, but it did not pop. "I don't like this," said Harold, and his echo agreed. From inside the bubble, Harold faintly heard the sound of the recess bell, signaling that recess was over. He could not see his friends. All he could see was his own reflection. But he knew the bell meant the other kids would be going inside to class, and he would be left all alone on the playground inside his bubble, and he could not get out. Harold felt lonely. He even began to cry. Then Harold saw dimly, through his own reflection, a hand pressed up against the outside of the bubble, and then another, and then another, and another. His friends had not gone back inside after all. From outside the bubble, the children in the playground formed a circle around Harold's bubble, pressing their hands up against the surface, and each pair of hands weakened the bubble just a little bit until finally there were so many hands pressing on the surface of Harold's bubble that the bubble popped. "Are you all right?" said Iris. "We didn't think you were ever going to come out of there." Harold breathed a sigh of relief. "I was stuck. It was scary being in there all alone." "But you weren't alone," said Iris. "Now come on, we're late for social studies. Did you know that Christopher Columbus did not discover America?" "Really?" said Harold, running after her. "Really?" said Iris. That afternoon in class, for the first time in a long time, Harold's bubble wand stayed in his backpack where it belonged. Thank you for sharing our story today. We're going to sing the children out to their faith development classes with Jason Shelton's Children's Blessing. The words are on the screen and in your order of service.
I'm Sharon McDonald. I'm the church historian. And Peter Cho asked me to gather a few thoughts on the upcoming capital campaign. Did you bring your foot warmer? Not cold enough for you today, foot warmer? You don't see this much anymore. This one comes from the Bedford Historical Society, and we believe belonged to Molly Pollard, dating from about 1750 in this church. Back in the day, it would have held hot coals. Mama warmed her feet on this fine invention. It wasn't for the children. They wrapped up in blankets. And Papa, he'd bring the family dog to lie on his feet. For the whole first 120 years of our church's history, that is how one stayed warm in this building. Now look down. Raise your hand if you see a rectangular hole drilled through the floor near your feet. Who's got one? Yeah? 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 That's where the supports for the boxed pews went into the floor. They had high sides, a door on the aisle that closed to keep drafts out. You bought or rented your pew, and that's how the church got money, got funded. And the box pews on the southeast side were more expensive in the sun. But in 1849, there was a huge capital campaign. First Parish voted to raise money for a furnace. Along with that, they installed a ceiling below the balcony, see right along here, to keep the heat in. Along with that, the box pews were removed, the south windows were closed off, this is the south, the aisles were carpeted, this room was a tight box, a foot warmer. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This hearth, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Times change. In the early 1900s, First Parish in Bedford had empty pockets. They employed Concord's minister to come here on Sunday afternoons and re-preach the sermon that he had preached in Concord in the morning. The members were unwilling to touch the endowment, but there was barely enough money for fuel to heat the building. The Trinitarian Church down the street very generously invited the Unitarians to hold Sunday services in their warm vestry, and we met there for worship the whole winter of 1917-1918. In 1919, the American Unitarian Association offered First Parish in Bedford a grant of $1,500 to hire a minister and repair the building, but we would have to match it. $1,500. The members were apprehensive. What if they couldn't come up with that much money? But they took the challenge and met it and surpassed it. The newspaper reported, "New life is the watchword. This is a matter of importance not only to Bedford, but to the denomination and to the nation. The purpose of the Bedford Church is to be a powerhouse for spiritual currents which exalt a people. A church free to serve and to build on the spiritual heritage of the ages." No matter how long you and I have been coming, we are all heirs of first parishioners who were convinced that this church community was vital. They created ways to hold each other in love and commitment and service, even when their resources were scarce, for 300 years. We receive their gifts and cherish them and add our own and pass them forward.
Thank you. Our responsive reading this morning is number 567, To Be of Use. It's by the poet Marge Piercy, and it's in your gray hymnal and on the screen. I'll read the unitalicized words, and you read the italicized words. Hi, Bob. I want to be with people who submerge in the task. Who stand in the line and haul in their places. The work of the world is common as mud, botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used.
Oh, I think we're there now. Good morning, I'm Liz Connors, a member of the lay pastoral care team, and this is the time in our service when you are invited to share a joy or concern with us. We'll start with folks here in the congregation in person. We'll go to Zoom, and I will be here at the end of the service at the candle stand if anyone wants to light a candle in private. Please keep your comments personal and brief as appropriate, and we welcome you to come up. I'm going to light this last candle for the joys, concerns, and sorrows that we hold in our hearts. And I'll be here at the end of the service if someone wants to light a candle in private.
Friends, before we close out this time of sharing our joys and concerns, note that these concerns are bigger than this community. They go out into the world and the general community. I ask that we just take a moment of silence for Renee Nicole Good and the people who loved her, and for the community of Minneapolis, which is under siege, and for all people right now who are targeted and know fear and feel unsafe. Let us hold in our hearts the wish that all people know peace and safety and welcome, and let us hold in our hearts the conviction that this is indeed our work to do. Our meditation hymn today is number 123, Spirit of Life, in your gray or cloth-bound hymnal. It's also on the screen. Won't you please rise and embody your spirit?
It's a heady title, A Cell Phone Saved My Life. It's a true story. On October 16th, 2017, I was in Jamaica for my 4th dental volunteer mission. At about 8 o'clock in the morning, shortly before we were to leave our hotel for a mobile clinic in a remote area of the island, I started to feel ill with stomach pain. One of the volunteers, who happened to be a nurse practitioner, examined me and told me to get to a hospital as soon as possible, fearing it might be appendicitis. I was taken by the program director to a private hospital in Montego Bay. I had my insurance cards on the Wallet app on my phone, but the hospital didn't accept insurance. It was either cash or credit card. So I gave them a card, and they asked for $1,000 down payment. I texted Ellen, who was looking for a flight, and I saw that my phone read 19% charge. When I asked if I could borrow someone's charger, I learned that everyone in the hospital used Android phones. Apparently, I wasn't going to be able to charge mine. Someone walked me to a room where a doctor examined me, got into a gown, ordered a CAT scan of my abdomen, but not before they asked for another $1,000. I was getting sicker. I threw up in a bag they'd given me. My phone now read 15%. and now it really got nuts. This story occurred on the third Monday of October, which in Jamaica is called Seven Persons Day, or National Heroes Day. It's in honor of the 7 people most often connected to Jamaica's independence, like July 4th here, and everyone has the day off, including the radiologist whose job was to read my CAT scan. 2 hours later, she did read it, told the emergency room doctor that I had an incarcerated umbilical hernia resulting in a small bowel obstruction. The emergency room doctor told me I need emergency surgery to avoid becoming septic, and I knew enough medicine to know that this was probably true. The surgeon, anesthesiologist, and operating room nurses, who were not there, were all contacted and told to come in for my surgery. A representative told me that I'd need to come up with $10,000 on top of the $2,000 I'd already paid. Because of spending limits on my cards, I had to split the amount between 2 cards, $5,000 each. I looked at my phone, and I saw the low power icon. 6:30 in the evening, the surgeon came into my room. We discussed the operation. He gave me a pep talk, telling me he understood how lousy I felt. Try to hang in there. He was still waiting for the anesthesiologist. So here I am, 10 hours after being dropped off. I'm lying on a gurney. I feel like, and I've got a puke bag in my hand and a dying phone. Trauma must have something to do with the point at which thinking and feeling intersect. Because when the business office asked me for another $9,000, the thinking part of my brain just shut down. My phone was almost as empty as my bank account. And you know about the fight or flight response. You either run away from danger, and I had nowhere to go, or fight to stay alive, which in this case meant finding $9,000. That's how I processed this. Paralyzed with fear, hoping my phone wouldn't finally just die, I found it within myself to call a brokerage firm that I had used and pleaded with someone to release $9,000 into my bank account immediately. At 9:30 that evening, I was wheeled into the operating room, and I remember the slight relief I felt when the anesthesiologist, a born Jamaican, told me he graduated from Dartmouth Medical School. The surgery was successful, and the next day, with Ellen standing next to my hospital bed, tethered to an IV pole, with a fully charged phone, I finally relaxed. Until I noticed 2 voice messages on my phone, one from Capital One and one from DCU, telling me that someone in Jamaica had gone on a shopping spree with my credit cards and purchased $700 worth of clothes at Aeropostale. Am I pronouncing that right? Aeropostale. A month later, Blue Cross reimbursed the entire amount of my hospital stay, and the banks refunded the charges. Physically, the scar is gone, but some scars heal more slowly. And it took some time and help to process this nightmare. It was not my intention to write about anything other than how my phone was a lifeline to the outside world. But I couldn't help wondering if there might be some similarity to what I felt that day and how undocumented people feel when removed from home or school or work to face deportation. And last, my response to anyone who might doubt the accuracy of this story is to show my copy of 6 receipts, $21,000, and a refund of $2,916.73.
Thank you, Rich. We are so glad for your phone that day and that you are still with us. Every Sunday at First Parish, we take an offering so that the life and good works of this church can continue for another generation and beyond. In a moment, Steve will delight us with some music, and the ushers will come around with their baskets to take an offering. Please give generously as you are able. There's a new viral challenge on TikTok these days. It's not the cinnamon challenge or the ice bucket challenge. It's not the Tide Pod challenge, thank heavens. No, the new viral challenge on TikTok right now is the Do Nothing challenge. Young people are posting time-lapse videos of themselves doing nothing, like sitting on a chair staring into space, sometimes for 15 minutes, sometimes for hours. The challenge is about being bored. How long can I just hang out with my own thoughts and no distractions? How long can I go without novelty and stimulation? How long can I go before the next dopamine hit to my brain? How long can I just be bored? When I was a child and a teen and a young adult before cell phones, I remember being bored all the time. Waiting in line at the grocery store, obviously before online shopping, sitting in traffic, waiting at the doctor's office, waiting for something to end, waiting for something to start, waiting for something to arrive. Life was full of these small pockets of unclaimed moments where there was nothing to do, and so you just did nothing. Sometimes it was boring, but also it was time to rest, to daydream, to catch up with one's thoughts, to have unplanned, spontaneous encounters with other human beings, to remember random, stupid things. I didn't love it. I tried to always have a book with me, obviously not while driving, but sometimes, yes, reading while waiting in line at the store. But in retrospect, I think being bored sometimes was good for me. These days, what I often do in those unclaimed, unplanned, would-be boring moments, if I'm being totally honest, is I mostly look at my phone. I can check my email, I can send a quick text, I can catch up on my Facebook feed, I can read the New York Times, I can scroll and scroll and scroll. Now, I was a late and reluctant adopter of the smartphone. I did not want my phone to be anything other than a phone. I already had a desktop computer for email and the internet. I could print out Google Maps if I needed to go someplace in my car. If I needed to send a text, my flip phone could sort of do that for 10 cents a message. A smartphone was an expense I did not want or need. But then, in 2012, I got a promotion at work, and they bought me a smartphone, and they just gave it to me for free. They paid for it. And let me tell you, I fell in love with that phone. Like, where have you been all my life? This was good timing, right? By 2012, the smartphone revolution was in full swing. Jonathan Haidt, in an Atlantic article called End the Phone-Based Childhood, we're going to get into that, he details how this smartphone revolution came together. In 2007, the iPhone was introduced. It was a smartphone, but kind of a dumb smartphone. It was a fairly passive object, waiting for you to tell it what to do, and it didn't do much. Then in 2008, the App Store was introduced, and all of a sudden, your phone could actually do quite a lot of things, and more things all the time. By 2010, social media was fully on the scene, and most people now had high-speed internet with which to stream video. Smartphones then added the front-facing camera, and now you could record your life and put it online. And then the next thing was that likes and notifications were added. So now your phone was no longer a passive object. Now your phone would actively reach out to you, grab your attention, and tell you, hey, someone just commented on that picture that you posted about the cheeseburger that you had for lunch. And now you are a little bit famous. You should check that out, your phone would say. You should comment back. How many likes did you get? So these devices do not just lie there anymore passively waiting for us to use them. They ping us, they send notifications, they demand our attention, and they reward our attention with little mini dopamine hits to our brain that are addictive. And there's a lot of money to be made by corporations who can capture our attention with these devices, and that is what these devices are designed to do. Jonathan Haidt points out that before this revolution, the millennial generation had flip phones. They had access to dial-up internet on their home computers without any evidence of harm and some evidence of positive benefit. And he reminds us that people back then were actually quite excited about what technology had to offer in terms of empowering young people. These were knowledge tools, these were creative tools, these were connecting tools. And millennials actually reported higher levels of mental well-being and emotional satisfaction than the generations before them. Gen X, my generation, was a particularly depressed and dissatisfied generation. But millennials were doing better, and flip phones do not seem to have been a problem for them. But once smartphones and social media and high-speed internet took over, things changed. For Gen Z, the first generation raised with smartphones and social media, mental health issues and a variety of other struggles went up sharply, globally, not just here, globally, beginning in 2010, beginning with that cell phone, smartphone revolution. And Haidt blames this in part on trends that began much earlier. And he noted that ever since the 1970s, for a variety of reasons, we have more and more removed children's independence and their free play time, and we have replaced that with more and more structured activities. But he particularly blames the rise of smartphones and social media, and he calls this a giant social experiment that we conducted on a generation of kids, and the results seem to be in, and the results, he says, are not so good. For teens and young people, daily phone use soared, and other things declined. Sleep declined, exercise declined, book reading declined, which was already a trend, but it accelerated. Crucially, time interacting face-to-face with peers went way down. Haidt reports it turns out that Gen Z was socially distancing for many years by the time that COVID-19 struck. So after 2010, globally, anxiety, depression, loneliness, as self-reported by young people, went up. And for some groups of young people, like young girls, it went way, way up. And this reversed those positive trends for increased mental well-being that had been seen with the millennial generation. Now, if you ask some young people about rising rates of young adult depression or anxiety, they might very well respond, "Have you seen the world? Do cell phones cause anxiety and depression, or are young people just very aware that they have some things to be anxious about?" And I won't rehearse the litany of challenges that young people today face, but Gen Z is the first generation to grow up, for example, with an acute awareness of accelerating climate change and what it means for their future. And of course, every generation faces challenges, but not every generation begins their childhood with 9/11 and ends it with COVID. So is this a case where correlation does not equal causation? And smartphone boosters will point out that cell phones and social media also present distinct benefits. After all, some would say, being online is itself a form of social activity. It is not antisocial, it's just a different way of socializing. And this is true. People can and do form very real and lasting friendships online. For young people who are marginalized or isolated, who might have trouble connecting otherwise, social media and cell phones can be a lifeline, offering social connection when there was none before. This can be particularly true for LGBTQ kids or neurodivergent kids. Sometimes in a wired world, given the ability to reach beyond their immediate social surroundings, they can find their people. And that's huge. Grown-ups are always griping about the kids these days and stressing out over this current generation. Haidt knows what he sounds like. And he says, sometimes there's alarmism, and sometimes there's really a reason to be alarmed. And the kicker for him is that teens and young people themselves broadly agree that cell phones, for all of their benefits, are also a problem. They don't love this world that we have created for them, that steals their time, magnifies their insecurities, robs them of sleep, wrecks their attention span, and deprives them of real-world interactions with all of its joys and even with its moments of awkwardness. So Haidt thinks it's high time to end this experiment with kids and cell phones, and he proposes 4 solutions that we could collectively implement immediately, if imperfectly, if we would just agree to do it. He calls these the 4 norms that he thinks that we should all adopt collectively, and they are no cell phones before 16, no social media before 16, no cell phones in school, and very importantly, bring back free play for kids. Haidt and his team of researchers surveyed 500 8 to 12-year-old kids, asking them, how do you think we could help you get off your phones? Assuring them their answers would be anonymous. And they reported that what they wanted most of all was more unstructured, unsupervised free time with other kids. Let us play in person without a bunch of adults around. Let us learn to do things for ourselves. Let us try new things and fail. Let us fail offline without the entire internet watching. Meanwhile, young people, Gen Z, are not waiting for someone else to fix this problem. They are starting to lead movements aimed not at eliminating phones, but moderating them, putting appropriate boundaries around them, and discovering life on the other side. So now you have campus movements led by young people to create opportunities for cell phone-free social interactions. One such movement, described by The Times in an October 2025 story called 1 Hour No Phones, a new way to socialize for Gen Z, It's called the Reconnect movement. It does not aim to eliminate technology, it aims to foster proactive habits of human connection by giving young people opportunities to gather without phones and practice just hanging out and talking. There's the TikTok boredom challenge that I mentioned earlier. Kids are challenging themselves to relearn how to be bored, how to do nothing, how to rebuild their attention spans and their ability to whatever the opposite of multitask is. Single task? Just do a thing? Is that what we call it? And then there's the resurgent popularity of flip phones. Flip phones. Some young adults are experimenting with trading in their smartphones for flip phones, at least temporarily. Last summer, having a flip phone summer to detox from social media was a viral trend with young people. The flip phone lifestyle is becoming trendy. And the reality is that many people find it too difficult to function in the modern world, and especially the modern workforce, without a smartphone. So there are these now so-called light phones that are sort of a compromise, not quite as low-tech as a flip phone, but not as connected as a smartphone. Online, young people in places like Reddit are swapping tips and tricks for managing their own use, recognizing they need their phones, but they want to need them less, and they want to use them less. So one person urges, try going to the store but leaving your phone at home, a thing we all used to do. Challenge the impulse that you have to have it with you all the time. Keep the map and camera, says another person, but delete all of your social media accounts. Now, as a parent who parented during those aughts, who was a part of that great experiment, and made my share of mistakes, as all parents do, I would take a do-over on cell phones and social media and how we handle that with my own Gen Z children. But also, my adult children are on social media way less than I am. And they are more likely to tell me to get off my phone during family dinner time than vice versa. And when I look around, I see a lot of young people crafting. Dungeons and Dragons, a very social activity, is somehow hugely popular, which does my 10-year-old geek heart hugely proud. Kids are into sports, theater, making music, making art, going outdoors. Gen Z actually invented the exhortation to touch grass. Touch grass, which means, would you please unplug, get offline, and go get some fresh air? Dude, touch grass. The kids will be all right. I have every confidence that they will figure this out for themselves. And when they do, I hope they will post about it on social media so I can read about it. Because I need me some of that. Because that initial love affair with my phone over time has definitely turned into a love-hate relationship. My phone has become my frenemy. It is an absurdly useful tool. I use it for literally everything. And my news feed has not increased my peace. Doom scrolling has not lowered my stress level or improved my sleep. The constant alerts, notifications, bings, updates are not sharpening my focus and extending my attention span. And shared communication does not seem to be building bridges and bringing us together. And the events of the last few days have just reinforced for me what a mixed blessing this device is. We would not know the truth about what happened to Renee Nicole Good if so many people on the scene had not used their phones to take and share video of the shooting that happened. Because the administration gave a very different account than what the video plainly showed. And because all of those people and their phones, I can see that with my own eyes. And yet there were and are many people who watched that same video and came to very different conclusions than I did. And the fact that we could all actually see what had happened, thanks to cell phones, was not actually bringing us together. And it was not creating a shared story. Rather, it was driving people into angry opposite camps, pushing us into our bubbles. And almost immediately, people were choosing sides, pushing narratives, insulting and even threatening total strangers, not being their best selves. And this was also due to cell phones. And when the second video came out, it just reinforced whatever people believed they saw in the first video, and it aggravated the polarization. So definitely, I was grateful for the information my phone provided during those days. I was not grateful for the culture it is creating and the way it fosters an online environment that has become angry, siloed, bullying, uncurious, unkind. I am not grateful that we are all in our bubbles and don't seem to know how to get out of them. And definitely, too, there's still a lot of joy to be had on the internet. When I needed a break from the news stories, there were videos of otters playing with puppies, and cats being jerks randomly, and people dancing and making music. But man, there's also just so much meanness on display all the time. It is not good for my soul to spend too much time there. Maybe you're also wishing your relationship with your phone was a little different, or as a family, maybe you want some different boundaries. What to do? What to do? Well, one thing I read about that you can try is to set your phone to grayscale. I read about this online. Oh, the irony. The New York Times posted an essay on Christmas Day by a reporter named Julia Angwin called "I Killed Color on My Phone and the Results Shocked Me." You can go into the accessibility settings on your phone, Google it if you don't know how to do that, and you can set the color filter to grayscale. And boom, there is no more color on your phone. And I tried it in preparation for this sermon, and the results for me really were dramatic. Like, I cannot explain why, but my phone without color was totally unappealing to me. I almost had an aversion to use it. So I still used it when I needed to because it's a tool, but I would go in, do the thing, and get out because I no longer had any desire to tarry inside the world of my phone. Unfortunately, for me, this effect diminished after about a week because I did have to still go into my phone, and I slowly acclimated to the black and white world, and my use went back up. But if you are looking for an interrupt, right, something to just like create a break from your usual phone behavior, you might try this. And maybe it will work longer for you than it did for me. There are also apps you can download to monitor your phone use, slow it down, restrict it to certain times of day, lock you out. Of course, you have to stick with those apps. Some people swear by this advice: get yourself an old-fashioned alarm clock and don't allow your phone into your bedroom. Studies show just having your phone in your bedroom makes your sleep worse, and it's too easy to check email in the middle of the night, so no phone by the bed or in the bedroom, highly recommended. Consider expanding this to other spaces. No phone in the dining room, no phone in the craft room, or whatever it is. If you can afford it, consider acquiring a flip phone or some other kind of low-tech phone to substitute for the cell phone. People aren't replacing their cell phones, but they're substituting for times when you need to be accessible, but you don't want to be online. Many kids have flip phones before they are ready for smartphones. Maybe that kid could be you. And borrowing from the Reconnect movement, create phone-free times for your family or yourself. Dinner is an obvious example, but many families don't all eat dinner together anymore, especially if they're teenagers and activities and schedules. Maybe it's a puzzle night or a movie night or whatever it is where you agree the phones go off just for that time. And consider turning your phone off when you come to church and have a digital-free Sunday morning. Let First Parish be your digital oasis. Rest assured there will always be a few phones around in case of an emergency, but maybe your phone can be off for the entire time that you are here. And speaking of church, here we are at church talking about cell phones. Why is this a conversation for church? Well, many religious traditions have some form of practice like a Sabbath. Many religious traditions offer, as a spiritual practice, a time to unplug, to rest, to set down the cares of the world and be with friends and family, or just to be alone with ourselves. Right? We need time to dream. We need time to imagine. We need time to reconnect with whatever we hold as sacred. We even need time just to be bored. In hard times or anxious times or angry times, we need that Sabbath time even more. We need spaces to rest and recharge our spirit. So if you find yourself too much with the world, whether that's because of your cell phone or for whatever reason, if you find yourself these days too often distracted and too little connected, find your Sabbath time. And if First Parish can be that for you, I hope you find that here. And I hope that we can be that for each other. The world needs wholeness and the world needs peace. So let us cultivate those things in our own hearts and our own lives. And for those of us who need to be reminded, let us listen to the wisdom of Gen Z, set down our phones, and touch grass. Our closing hymn today is number 298, Wake Now My Senses. The lyrics are in your hymnal and on the screen. We're going to sing verses 1, 2, and 5. 1, 2, and 5. Please rise and body your spirits. Our closing words are author unknown in the gray hymnal and lightly adapted. The courage of the early morning's dawning and the strength of the eternal hills and the peace of the evening's ending and the love of the eternal be in our hearts, and not for this moment anyway, the alerts of our devices. Amen. And now we extinguish the flame of our chalice, but not the light of understanding, the warmth of compassion, or the fire of commitment. Let us carry those with us in our hearts until we meet again. Go in peace.